Have you ever been so mad at someone that rage had built inside of you? It had its grips on you. And you were just so angry at the person or the situation. And then it developed into more a grudge and projecting your pain on either them or someone else. We're talking about the word forgiveness and create a generational love cycle. And I feel like it's just a huge word that can really provide a great lift from us when we practice forgiveness. And in the Bible, it talks about forgiveness and that we should forgive someone multiple times, right? And that if we have an issue or a problem, that we should go to that person. You've heard that before, that we should go to them. Now, just because we go to that person doesn't mean they're going to acknowledge the perceived wrong. And forgiveness doesn't rely on the other person acknowledging the perceived wrong or the pain. Forgiveness is a deeper knowing, a spiritual knowing that if we truly knew what we were doing, I mean, really were awakened to our words, because sometimes we say things and we don't realize how we're putting those words and how much they can trigger someone or come across as demeaning, demoralizing. Sometimes we don't know, sometimes we do. Sometimes it's done intentionally, sometimes not. But forgiveness is really knowing that if you were really awakened to your actions and your words, that you wouldn't have done or said what you said, or you wouldn't have. And I know, just even this past weekend, I had a conversation with someone I dearly love, and some things were said, and I felt like I addressed it, but there was a part of me that was angry about how I perceived or what the person said and how I perceived that, and I could feel it inside of me, right? Because I know I've talked about mastering your emotions and your feelings. And I could feel inside of me the anger, and I could feel my heart beating fast. And I'm sure my blood pressure was up. And I felt like there was something trying to get in me, and I really needed to let it out. And I know often people say forgiveness is about letting go. And I think forgiveness is about putting things in a healthy perspective, because anger, rage, grudges all come from how we perceive something said or something done. And, I was reading the Bible, and it also says in Proverbs that a prudent person, a wise person, overlooks an insult. That we know that out of the heart flows the issues of life. And as I dug deep into the words that were said that day, I got a bigger picture. The conversation. I actually called the person back, and I got a bigger picture of some things that were said and not quite heard. And so sometimes forgiveness is about speaking our hearts, our minds in such a way that, hopefully we're building people up. I don't think forgiveness is just always overlooking or not communicating, not saying what it is that is on our minds and hearts. I learned a long time ago that when you do speak, you say I felt this way, I perceive this way, because you're taking ownership of your perception. And that's what I call said. I felt this way, I perceived this way, this is what I heard. And I kid you not, when I voiced my concerns, I literally felt like something was lifted from me. That I have been the one that really have often overlooked an insult. And I didn't know anything about being wise. And I'm not saying that I'm this wise person. I just often I because I knew that when people said hurtful things, it was from them. It was from their pain. It wasn't mine until I actually took it in, till I actually absorbed that energy, till I actually allowed that seed to be planted inside of me. And forgiveness is an intentional action on the part of our minds. It's intentional to say, you know what, I realize that this, what you said, and trying to get a bigger story if we can. I've brought things up to people that have hurt me in the past, or I felt like they hurt me in the past, or did something that was not beneficial for me in such a way, and the person ignored it. They did not acknowledge what had happened. As a matter of fact, they said it was somebody else that did it. But I think when people come to us like that, we have to know that our body, ourselves, know exactly what happened. We don't have to make up a story, but our body, ourselves, know exactly what happened. And I think when you know the truth, and you know that someone is not ready to acknowledge the truth, it is on you to speak your heart, speak your mind in hopefully a professional way, in a very personal way. And if that person isn't willing to acknowledge it, then we have to intentionally say, okay, that person is not ready, but I am ready to forgive them. And I may need time. I don't have to be around people. I don't care who they are. I don't care if they're family members or whoever they may be, but know that we don't have to be in someone's face and show, okay, I forgave you, so I'm gonna be around you all the time. Sometimes we need time, in letting go. And so it's not about feeling guilty if you're still holding on to something, but to really to go inside and say, okay, why am I holding on to this? What in me was triggered by that person's words and actions? And I think that's something we don't hear about. Forgiveness is about really doing an inner assessment of, why can't I forgive? Why am I holding this grudge? Because when we look at it and we become true to ourselves, we don't have to look outside for forgiveness. But that love, and I do believe it, it's all about what you resonate with. And there's a portion in the Bible, in the book of Corinthians, and it said love does not remember any wrongs. And I believe we can be like that, because I've been around people that, like I said, that projected their pain on me as a child, and I'm doing stuff, or I've done stuff, and I realized, oh wow, I had no anger towards them. I didn't feel mad towards them. I didn't feel anger rising up in me. So I believe that, we can get to a point where we don't remember what they did. We don't live with, and when I say remember, we don't live with that. We have put it in such a way, in a healthy perspective, that we have automatically let it go. And that forgiveness gets to a point where you really see where the person is coming from. And I think, a lot of that is introspection. Just really, really paying attention to your emotions and your feelings. This week, I was in a different state because I had a lot of stuff going on with me. I had a lot of feelings and emotions that were around me. And some of that definitely played a role in how I responded to the person and what they said, you know. Um, and so, if we're getting defensive, if we feel like we're holding a grudge, if we feel like we've been wrong, what is it in me that this is coming from? So, forgiveness is about an act of introspection, and looking at what's going on inside of me that has allowed this rise in anger and rage, and to really be objective when you look at that. What's really going on here? Because I do believe that whatever is happening to us on the inside, Sometimes the experiences are to help us to make us aware of ourselves. The experiences are not about the other person. They have their own issues to deal with, but to really make us aware of who we are on the inside, where we are, where have we veered from our truth, and to really self-correct that. And then as we do that, we become the example for our children. We talk about things, things they've gone through, and how forgiveness may look to them, and talking to them, what do they feel they need to do? Why are you angry? My son told me a couple of days ago, even being frustrated, um, I could feel that some of my tension was actually rubbing off on them in the air. And I sat down and I talked with him. He said, Mom, that was the best conversation that I ever had. It was better than playing a game. He's a 12-year-old boy. So I believe good things can come out of that introspection, that frustration and anger that we feel, because we can use that as an example to help our children to identify their emotions, identify what's in them, and to really see the situation for what it is, and know that it's not about the other person, but it is about you. And how, again, can we create harmony on the inside? This is Tamika Chambers with Create a Generational Love Cycle. We break the cycle of pain by examining those thoughts that have created it in the first place, because every action comes from a seed of thought. And so it's through that we become wiser. We become more spiritually aware of ourselves. We self correct. We create harmony within so we can have harmony on the outside in our environments, passing that on to our children, creating a generational cycle of love. We can do this. There's no, my motto is there's no guilt. And I'll be talking about that this Friday. We don't need to have guilt. We need to really go within and assess ourselves and become more awakened to our truth and who we really are, and how we can really reflect this truth that created us. I'll talk to you guys soon. Take care of yourself. As always, make this lifetime great. And I'll have a link to sign up for my newsletters, basically notes on life, empowering you to be you, those weekly messages of really encouraging you to dig deep within and to do the work that you're here to do in the best possible health, overall health possible. I'll talk to you guys soon. Take care of yourself.